here, and I have fallen in love with yet another book. So, I have quite literally just finished this book. I haven't taken any notes because for once the weather is nice, which means the light is good in this room, and since I'm always complaining about how bad the light is, I figured I'd take advantage of the fact that it's not bad today and just get this done. So I'm probably massively unprepared to actually film any sort of coherent review on this book. I've just stuck some tabs in on scenes that I really love, and I'm gonna hope for the best. As always, I will do a spoiler-free overview of my thoughts on this book, and then I'll delve deeper into things that I really loved. So my wonderful friend Jasmine got me this book for Christmas because she loved it so much. It was one of her absolute favourite reads from 2019, and I completely trust her bookish opinion because we have not once disagreed on a book. So I kind of knew in advance that I was going to love this book, but even before Christmas I was massively interested in reading this because I'd seen so many people talk about how great it was. But when I first started hearing about it and I actually searched it up, I read the blurb on Goodreads and I automatically knew that it was going to be something that I love. I'm a big fan of rom-coms that contain royalty. I don't know why, because I don't actually care for the royals in the slightest, but fictional royals I love. The Princess Diaries, The Prince and Me, The Princess Switch, Disney's goddamn Princess Protection Program. If there's a member of royalty, I'm sold. This book is set in an alternative universe. The current president of America is a female. She is a single mother of 2 children who she had with a Mexican man, so both of the children are biracial. The main character in this story is Alex, who is her son, so he's the first son of America. Ever since Alex met one of the princes of England, Prince Henry, the two of them have just had this tension between them, this rivalry, as the media paints it out. They don't like each other. At the start of the book, Alex has to go to the royal wedding of Henry's brother, Prince Philip, who is the actual heir to the throne. Whilst at the wedding, Alex and Henry end up having an altercation that gets publicised by the media. In order to fix that in the press, they need to do damage control. The White House and the palace set up this fake friendship between Alex and Henry, so it all just looks like a misunderstanding. In case you didn't know, I love fake friendship tropes, so I mean, I was already sold. But through this fake friendship, they end up with a genuine bond, and this story just shows their relationship evolving beautifully from that point. Yeah, I don't have words for how gorgeous this story is. This book is more new adult as opposed to YA. The main characters are in their 20s, and I've said quite a few times that I'm always looking for books that feature characters of that age because I just don't see it enough. I've also mentioned before that despite always looking for that in books, I tend to stay away from new adult because it usually revolves around sex, and I tend not to read a lot of books that have a lot of sex scenes in them. It's just not something that I enjoy reading, unless it is meaningful and adds to the story, rather than just pointless sex scene after pointless sex scene. This is one of those rare books where I didn't mind the amount of sex that was in it. It's not really a spoiler to say that it's steamy. The quotes on the back mention that it's sexy, so you know. But despite the fact that there are quite a lot of sex scenes in this story, it didn't feel like too much because the book uses those scenes to explore the characters more, explore their feelings. And the other thing that's also great about it is that those scenes tend to be hilarious as well. And so one of the things that I love most about this book is how funny it is. I laughed out loud so many times when reading this book. There's just so many iconic lines and paragraphs and I can't read them out because there's just so many that I love. But when I say this book is a feel-good book, I really do mean it. It's just so nice, whilst also dealing with everything else. And another thing that I really appreciate about this book is how much it delves into the politics. Alex is the first son, but he also wants a career in politics. That's what he wants to go into. He wants to make a difference, and it shows him discovering what he really wants to get out of life throughout this book. God, I wish this family weren't fictional. What a gift to have them in the White House. Another thing that I loved is how diverse this book is. I love that the first family is a biracial family, and that's something that Alex discusses. And then in terms of sexuality, Henry is gay, Alex is bisexual, and he discovers that in the book. And it's genius. It's just perfectly written. But then you also have a trans character dotted throughout the book, and mentions of other sexualities, like pansexuality. It gets mentioned, and it makes me so happy in the way it just mentions it so easily and proves that those things shouldn't matter in fiction. They should be just mentioned casually because these people do exist and it shouldn't be a big deal. So overall, even though this is a rom-com type book that is wildly hilarious and feel good, it's also completely important in how it brings up other issues. I just have so much love in my heart. What else makes this book really stand out to me is the use of media within it. It tells part of the story through texts and group chats and emails as well. I know that when I write stories, when I take part in NaNoWriMo over the past few years, I've actively put group chats and Twitter discussions into my stories, just because that's such a huge part of our lives now. And it's a great way of getting these cute and fun interactions between the characters in a quick way. It's just their dialogue to and from each other. So I love that aspect of the story, and the group chat in this is hilarious. It's just so relatable, and even though these characters have got completely different lives to what I have, I see parts of myself in them, and that's just such a good aspect of this story. So yeah, I think that's about all I can mention as opposed to a spoiler-free section. I'd love to be able to tell you things that I didn't like, but there's nothing really, I don't think. This is an overly positive review because I'm overly positive about this book. If you haven't read this book and you don't want to be spoiled for anything, then please leave this review now, read the book, and then come back and watch the rest of it because you need to read it. Okay, so spoiler people, I basically just want to gush about my favourite scenes. The polo match that Alex attends, and he sees Henry in his polo wear, and they end up in this tiny room attached to the stables. That scene was just hilarious. Like I said earlier, the steamier scenes are wonderful for the fact that half of them are hilarious and in completely crazy situations like that one, but then there are some of them that really mean a lot to both characters and it helps them grow as a relationship. So yeah, some of my favourite moments in the book came from when they found themselves in less than ideal situations and still couldn't keep their hands off each other. I'm surprised they didn't get caught out earlier, because there were plenty of times throughout this book where I was like, this is risky, fellas. Somebody is going to catch you doing something that you don't want to be seen doing. And that's something else that I wanted to mention as well. The level of stress that I had throughout this book waiting for that moment where they were going to be outed, because I knew it was going to happen, I just didn't know when and under what circumstance. I was so stressed out, especially when Alex mentioned about the security on the email and that somebody had probably spoken to him about it in the past, and I just knew that was a moment of foreshadowing that those emails were going to get out. So every time I read the emails, they were so beautiful and meaningful, but I just knew that the public were going to see them at some point, and I hated that. I do have to mention how much I love the emails, because it was just them bearing their souls to each other and talking about things that they don't get to talk to other people about. And I loved that as their relationship progressed, the emails kind of showed that by them giving each other cute nicknames and the quotes that they included at the end of each email. By the time we got to midway through the book, there were quotes from Virginia Woolf and from Wilfred Owen. So having these quotes that I recognised but put into the perspective of this story, I love. The thing that just gets me so much about Alex and Henry's relationship in this book is how strong they are and how well they communicate with each other. Because whilst there is a few instances where they're not being completely honest about their feelings with each other, they mostly talk everything out and work through it together. Throughout the book, I was kind of just waiting for one of them to massively mess up. I feel like a lot of the stories that I read that focus on relationships, there is always this one point where one of them ends up massively hurting the other one. They do something stupid or they backstab the other person. Sometimes it's because they have no choice, but then other times it's because they're just being a complete dickhead and they have to work through that and apologise for it. So whilst I was reading this, I was kind of wondering if something like that was going to happen, but it really didn't. Yeah, there were a few moments where they needed to talk more, but all in all, they only really had like one big argument as a couple. That scene where Alex ends up going to Kensington because Henry walked out on him when they both kind of realised that this was love as opposed to just a playful thing. And that's basically the one big argument that they have, but they talk it out really quickly. Like the next morning they decide that this is a serious relationship for them and they're going to move forward with that in mind. So I feel like every problem they had, they overcame it together, and that's why I just love these two characters and their relationship so much, because they deal with things in a healthy way. They have discussions, and we just don't get to see enough of that. There are just so many stories where I love the relationships in them, but I'm constantly like, you need to talk more, you need to get over things together. Most of the problems that they face in this story aren't necessarily because of each other, it's because of everyone else. It's because Henry is a prince and it's his duty to his country to marry a woman and produce children. It's because Alex is the first son of America and his mother is currently campaigning to be re-elected, and something like this can completely mess that up. It's other people's problems with them that they have to face, as opposed to them not being entirely compatible and rushing into a relationship and things that a lot of other book relationships have as a problem within the story. The two of them are just so solid. So the other thing in regards to the characters that I really appreciated about this book was the friendship that we get. We have Alex and his sister June and Nora being the White House trio, and then we have Henry and his sister Bea and his best friend Pez. Every single one of them were incredible characters. I just loved the different personalities that they had and the way they just all came together so naturally. Their bond that they started to grow throughout the story was just so brilliant, and they are hilarious together. I love the group chat with Alex, Nora, June and Henry. I love that the author managed to slip a BTS reference in there. I just love the language in their group chat, and it showcases more how they interact with each other. I loved Pez so much as well, and the way the story described that he clearly doesn't give a shit what other people think of him. He dresses how he wants. He's interested in fashion and beauty and painting his nails and dyeing his hair nice colours. It's just, the characters are all so wonderful. I love them. I don't have words. I don't know what else to say. I just love them so much. Where else have I even tagged in here? Oh my god, my favourite line. I don't give a damn what Joanne has to say. Remus John Lupin is gay as the day is long and I won't hear a word against it. If he wasn't one of my favourite fictional characters already at this point, that just solidified it. I love Henry. I'd die for him. Yeah, like I said, there are so many iconic lines and so many iconic scenes. I don't think I even mentioned them kissing in front of the Alexander Hamilton portraits. That's just god tier moment in a book. It really is. I know there are lots of things that I have forgotten to mention, but overall I just love everything that this book stands for. It did make me laugh. It did make me tear up. Those final few chapters where everyone knows about Alex and Henry, and it shows you the impact that they're already having with the crowds outside the palace and outside the White House, the pride shirts, the murals that are painted on the wall, especially the Star Wars one where they're Han and Leia. All of those things just made me want to whinge. And I did. It's cheesy and it's soppy and it makes you love the idea of love, but it also teaches you things and it reminds us how important acceptance is. It gives us that hope that one day we'll be able to have relationships like this in the media, because we should already be allowed to have those kind of things and have people like this to look up to. It's escapism, but it reminds us to fight for the things that we want in our future. Hopefully it reminds you to vote for the right people when it comes to elections. This book ends in 2020 at the re-election. Just saying. So really, I don't think there is anything about this book that I didn't enjoy. So yeah, they are my initial gushing thoughts about Red, White and Royal Blue. I cannot wait to read anything else that she gives to the world. I can't thank her enough for this book. I can guarantee that it's going to be one of my absolute favourite books of the year. And the year's only just started. That's how confident I am that it's going to remain a favourite. So please do let me know all of your thoughts on this book. Did you love it as much as I did? Did you not? Please feel free to cry with me in the comments, because I know there are a lot of moments that I loved that I just didn't get to discuss, and they need to be discussed. So yeah, just give me all of your thoughts down there. Drop them, please. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!